Hey guys, so Warframe has finally done it, bringing in a glutton Warframe. So basically you can eat till your heart's content and nobody will be there to stop you except Miss Trunchbull right there.
Even maggots can fly.
Hey guys, this is HBK Grand making a video about the Grendel Warframe which just came in today with the new update. So it is an amazing Warframe, a really unique one as well. I have been kind of like getting onto the downside because it was just kind of like a repetitive stuff in the Warframe, but with the Grendel it kind of like sparked up a little bit. So there is a lot of cool like animations, cool effects and all that kind of stuff with Grendel, so it was pretty amazing to play with it. Now, a lot of the people that were asking me while I was actually leveling up the Warframe, they were asking me, where do I get this? So just make sure, guys, you need to have a full solar map explored. So all the nodes must be active because it's kind of like having access to arbitration. So that's one of the requirements. Then you go to any of the relays and you guys can look for our vendor for the arbitrations, and that guy will have the parts for the Grendel, so you guys can check out from there. Whereas the blueprint you can just buy from the regular arsenal, and that's pretty much it. So let's check out Grendel's abilities first. His first ability is called Feast, where you swallow an enemy and you keep it inside your gut. And it takes a toxin damage non-stop while it's inside there. But depending on the amount of enemies you have, you also like have to take notice of your energy as well. So while the enemy's inside, you're going to be losing energy by the second. So it's not a lot, but if you have a lot of enemies, like sometimes like where you're going to be like inhaling or feasting upon like a crowd of enemies. So you could have like 10, 15 or even 20. So that actually multiplies by that 1.03. So you're losing like 20 energy per second. So it does go out pretty fast. However, once you inhale them, you can use the other abilities, which we will discuss shortly, to actually make the best use of them. Or you could even just throw them out of your belly and they will still take a lot of toxin damage. So as you guys can see right here, it reduces their armor by 9.6% per second, whereas it also gives them a 1930 damage. So let's check out the second ability. So when you consume the enemies in Grendel's gut, what you could do is like use the second ability. So depending on the amount of enemies you have in your gut, by using the first ability, you can actually provide buffs to your allies. So one of them is the Nourished Energy, which gives you an energy multiplier, so 1.48 times. So when you're killing the enemies or you pick up the energy orbs, it's gonna multiply by 1.48, and that's the energy you're gonna receive. Then there's the Nourish Armor. So you're gonna do damage, about 482.5 extra damage of toxin to that, and this damage can go around radius of 8 meters, any enemies around that. Then you have the Nourished Strike. So when you and your allies are attacking, you could do 1.96 times the toxin damage. Then we have your third ability, Regurgitate. Basically what happens is that you can actually puke out, kind of like a puking bullet, of the enemies that you have like basically taken in by your first ability. And there is no drainage for this one because you already have the enemy inside you. But when you puke it out and any like close by enemies, when you attack them, the enemy that you're shooting out, it's gonna take damage as well as the enemies you're shooting at. So they take about 2,316 damage, but you gotta think of it this way. The enemies that you have like feasted upon will be taking 1,930 damage, but when you cast the third ability, it's gonna take additional 2,316 damage, also attacking the enemies around them. Then the fourth ability, which is kind of like a really cool ability, you become into like a bowling ball, I guess, and then you cause like insane amount of damage. So depending on the amount of enemies you have inhaled, you can stay for a longer period of time. So it's not based on duration, it's not based on efficiency or anything like that. It's based on the amount of enemies that you have inhaled or feasted upon. And depending on how many enemies you have, your damage can actually go insanely high. Also, if you're you're gonna notice when you kind of like let it roll around and around, it's gonna go faster and faster. The faster you are, you're gonna do a little bit more amount of damage. Plus, when you press the space bar, it does consume one of the enemies that you already have inside you, so it's causing it to like run out of that fourth ability pretty quick. But if you just rotate on the floor, it does take a little bit longer for the ability to wear out. So keep that in mind. Whereas the damage you guys can see here, depending on your power strength, your damage, impact damage can vary from 965. So that's kind of like when you're starting out and all that kind of stuff. But if you pick up this pace or speed and whatnot, you can go even up to 7,720 damage. Plus the damage, like once you hit the enemy, they start taking 48.25 toxin damage by the second. Whereas the area damage, so like when they're like for example, if you are dropping from an area or you press the space bar while you were like in the pulverized state, the impact damage, there is a radius between 5 to 15. Now one thing that I did see, that if you have a lot of enemies that you feasted upon, so let's say compared to 5 or 10, you will actually see that the bowl is actually pretty big. So it actually gets like a really bigger than compared to like if you just had one enemy and then you did that. So if you check out the passive, it says that each enemy consumed grants 50 bonus armor. So let's say if you consume like for example 20 enemies, then you're looking at 1,000 plus to your armor. Now he already comes with a lot of armor buff and health, so it's almost like impossible to kill this guy. Like I've been testing him out and it's amazing. So keep that in mind. And then you can also check out like the tips tab. It will also help you, like, because there's a lot of like different information about it, like how you can do what like the abilities can do, how do you get those buffs and all those 4 abilities. So this is kind of like a nice feature that the developers have added, which was not there before. So it's kind of like those small wiki points that you would actually go or like be listening to other people or trying to figure them out on your own. So they kind of like do that for you here as well. Now let's get down to business and check out the builds. So basically the first build is the Umbral build. Obviously everybody tries to go with this since the sacrifice came out. Everybody tries to put an Umbral build on. So for those new people who are tuning in or are new to the Warframe game, basically Umbral builds are like these 3 mods, and then the rest of them you can build around them. So the Umbral Intensify, which gives you ability strength, Umbral Fiber, which gives you armor, and Umbral Vitality, which gives you health. When people do the sacrifice quest, they get these 3 mods, and as soon as a new Warframe comes out, you just have to put these 3 mods and you'll see like how big of an impact it does to your capacity area. But for this build, obviously what I did was I did like just a duration and a strength based. So that is pretty much what you're looking for with Grendel. You can work with range, up to you guys, and then there is a basic one where it does do all of that, so I'll share with that one. So for right now, I did corrosive damage. The reason why I did corrosive damage is because when you have toxin applied to the enemy, plus if you have like an armor reduction mod, it does increase the damage that the enemy will be taking. So, and then Grendel actually complements that because of the first ability and as well as the toxin damage it does. So it has a kind of like a better impact because of that. Whereas I will show that I have used other aura mods for this as well. Power Drift to give Grendel more ability strength. I don't really necessarily need the chance to resist the knockdown because Grendel is a heavy Warframe. Then I did Prime Flow. You can actually do Flow if you like, the regular one, or you could switch it up with that one. But the reason why I did Prime Flow with this one is if I have a lot more energy, then I can, I don't have to worry about consuming like an endless amount of enemies and then trying to figure out like, oh my god, I'm running out of energy. Now this mod can be replaced with like Augur Accord, Augur or Reach or something like that. It's up to people, but the reason why I picked it was because of the armor plus the sprint speed. So it makes the Warframe go faster. So heavy Warframes I kind of like tend to get like a little bit cringy with them because they are a little bit slower. But because of this, Grendel actually like moves so smoothly, so it's pretty amazing. Then I have the Gladiator Resolve, which gives me 180% health and then 10% critical chance per combo multiplier. So basically I have been using his melee weapon since it came out, and obviously that would complement with that, so it's pretty amazing. Prime continuity, so it is not maxed out because I try to keep my builds a little bit less than maxed, so that way it's a little bit fun to play the game. I don't like to one-shot everything. I do have builds to do that, but it makes this much a little bit more fun. So ability duration, obviously you need that because for the buffs that you're going to be giving to your enemy allies and whatnot. And around for this one, you give them about 20 seconds worth of buff. So this can be increased, however. The Umbral Intensify, which gives it power strength, the Umbral Fiber, which gives it armor, and then the Vitality, which gives them health. So currently he's standing at 3,885 health, 1,058 armor. Again, if you the passive ability of Grendel is every enemy that you feast upon, you get 50 bonus armor as well, so you could keep adding that to his armor as well. Plus with the buffs and everything like that, so you're constantly getting your energy back and all that kind of stuff. So sprint speed is at 1.09 because of this, so it kind of like makes it go faster. You don't need to put any shield mods on, so some people might be saying, can I just put Prime Vigor on it or something like that? To be honest, you don't need to. If you want to, that's fine, but it's one of those, it's like a Hildren but on the health side again, so it's kind of like a reverse type of deal. So the duration is at 145% and the strength is at 193%, so it's really a common build, not that of out of the extraordinary, but because of this strength and all that kind of stuff, you guys saw the DPS that it can do. Now we have the basic build. Now in this one, you'll see like, so if for example, people who do not have Umbral builds and whatnot, so what I try to do is like try to mix it up so that way people have a little bit of an idea what you can actually be looking for. So here you have the armor at 665. Then your health drops down to 2,170, and obviously you lose the speed as well. And then the duration drops down to 123%. But since it's a basic build, and usually we're looking for like all the gold mods in the basic builds, but I'm exchanging that for Prime Flow and Continuity. But you can have the efficiency at 130%, which means you'll be causing a less use of your energy, which makes it better. And then your range is 145%, so it goes a little bit further beyond. But your power strength is a little bit lower at 184%, but you're still doing a good amount of damage. So I picked Energy Siphon for this one, so you're constantly regenerating your energy. So even if you're running out of energy, you're going to constantly get more, so you stay in those ability factors for a little bit more time. I used the Power Drift for ability strength, the same as Augur Secrets. So this one is like 40% energy spent on abilities is converted to shields. Now we don't need this second part of it, but you can still use it to get that like buff still going on. Then I just used the regular steel fiber, a regular vitality, prime continuity. You could just use a regular continuity, a prime flow. You can use a regular flow. Transient fortitude, obviously to get that a little bit of strength, you can actually use intensify instead of it as well. It's your call. And then ability duration does get a little bit messed up with this one. Streamline gives you more efficiency, and stretch gives you more range. So that's basically what I was looking for over here. So that's like a basic build. It can be moved around. You could put like so many mods around this, but general basic builds like tend to have like stuff like this. So, and this is what I think would be a really cool setup. Now for the power build, however, I tried to put it into a basic build, not into an Umbral build. So with the power build, I went back to corrosive projection with the armor, a reduction of -30%, and then power drift again for the power strength. and then a prime flow for the energy max as much as I can get, and then I went for the steel fiber and vitality, and then transient fortitude again for the armor ability strength, then narrow-minded to get me that ability strength again. Now because of that I do lose a little bit of range, but it's still okay because you can actually still feast on the enemies. Then I put the regular intensify there, and then augur reach to give me back my energy, like the range that I was losing from narrow-minded, and then augur secrets again to give me that ability strength. So because of that, like these two augur mods, it's kind of giving me a little bit of a set bonus as well. So again, it can be changed with coaction drift, it can be changed with cunning drift. I do love this mod, energy conversion, but it kind of like while you're already in the cast state, I don't think it would be any cool to actually get that. But if you do, you can always switch this with intensify, but the only difference will be you're going to be getting additional 20% ability strength, so which is kind of cool. So again, because it does not have the umbral build and not the umbral mods over here, so the armor is at 665, the health is at 3885, and then your power, like the sprint speed goes to 0.95, the duration is at 141%, the range is at 88%, but your power strength is at 240%, making it more damage. So you're kind of like causing a little bit more damage, as you guys can see over here. With the pulverize, the damage is going all the way up to 8,560. Here your damage is at 2568, and then your multiplier is a little bit higher because of that power strength, but you're gonna see that the drain rate is not that high, but compared to the umbral build where we're doing like 1900 something damage, here you're doing 2140 damage. So it's not like a big jump, so that's why I say you don't really need to worry about like an excessive build for this Grendel, because he's more like a support slash like a crowd control type of build, Warframe. So that's pretty much it for these builds, and now let's test out like a little bit how these things work. So let's check out what the abilities do to the enemies. If you go right here, you're gonna see if we go absorb, we can actually absorb as many as we can when we're close to them. Then your second ability, you could give yourself a buff, so the more enemies you have in hail, the more buff you're gonna get. And if you see, if I pick up like these energy orbs, it gives me a lot of nourish. And with the third ability, what I could do is throw the enemies back at, like kind of like vomit at them. So I'm doing like 9,600, 10,000 damage, so which is a lot. But obviously these are level 100 enemies, so you're not going to be doing that much damage with that. So we're going to see right here. Another cool thing I found out even while I was like leveling up Grendel, like places where you can actually go out of the map, like where you lose your ability. So you can actually do two things, which is kind of like broken right now. I don't know if it's a bug or whether they meant it to be this way. So you kind of like just like, for example, I have one enemy in my stomach right now, and if I jump out of the map, that enemy is basically gone because it counts it as an ability active, and you kind of lose the Warframe or like the ability, and thus that enemy becomes part of that ability. But once you jump out of the map or whatnot, it's kind of like that ability is lost. Now the fourth ability is the strike. That is the most epic ability I've seen so far in Warframe. So you could actually just like kill the enemy. Well, it's like depending on the level of the enemy, but you could still like do massive amount of damage. Plus, you can actually throw them like all over the place, which is the funniest things that I've ever seen in Warframe. So that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Apart from that, we are doing those events still going on for the giveaways. If you guys are interested, I will share the link in the description below for Twitch and Mixer. During the weekends, we are giving away Warframes, weapons, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas there will be the 10,000 platinum giveaways coming up shortly as well, and during the end of November. So thank you so much, guys. This is HBK Grand taking off for the night. Have a great one, guys. Take it easy.